Have you got something that you're passionate about? Mohammed's got something special for you. Hang on tight. We're going to talk about how you can transform your life. How do you get there? We all have all these crazy ideas and I want to do this, I want to do that, but you don't quite know how to go about it. If so, what should they do?
Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to this episode of ThisRuptor. So, I've got a very special guest here on board today who's going to talk to you about something that you are going to be interested in. How do I know? Well, because I know what it is. But hold on. And meets Mohammed.
Hi there, my name is Mohammed and I'm a coach, mentor and professional speaker. I utilize my experience in careers, business and life to help people find a life of meaning.
A life of meaning. I'm sure a lot of the audience who are watching right now are thinking, well, we're in a difficult time in terms of the economy and people do want to improve their life, whether it's the career, maybe seek out new business. How is it that you can come into play here in terms of what advice have you got for people?
That's a great question, David. It's something that I've developed over not only my own career, but also helping 110 clients now to date actually secure the same. And it comes through a 5-step framework that I've used because many people have the misconception that 1 minute I don't like what I'm doing and the next minute I have to immediately quit and do something else. But it doesn't have to be this way. Making a transition into a new corporate career or entrepreneurship can be a gradual process. And I've been able to optimize the process now, which has been very, very successful for the clients that I've worked with.
Wow, okay. You know, I love steps. I love processes. I'm a business analyst myself. So you got a 5-step process. Talk us through that. And how easy can it be for a layman like myself to adopt this? You know, in for instance, as a business analyst, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of business analysts watching this, as well as a lot of people in the kind of technology domain. So how can this be applied step by step? Just talk us through it then.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't say it's an easy process, but it certainly isn't complex, meaning the steps are straightforward to understand. So number 1 is about finding an industry, a sector, something that you're really, really passionate about. It could be staying in tech, like you said, or it could be wanting to make a move into something like finance, into food, into media, into sport. There's so many different industries out there. The first step is to identify what that is, because we truly have to have a passion for what we do. If we don't enjoy what we're doing, if we don't wake up every day feeling excited, it's going to be very, very difficult, not only to make a transition, but to make sure that fulfillment is sustained throughout our lifetime.
So in terms of the steps, where do you go next? What's the next step?
Number 2, once you've identified a sector that you're interested in, the next step is to identify where your unique skills and passions truly come into play. We all have things that we would consider gifts or talents, maybe skills that come quite easily to us that other people might struggle with. Perhaps it's things that our managers, our colleagues or our friends have often praised us for. It might be things that when we do, we lose track of time and they come very, very effortlessly to us. Whatever it is, if we can take those components, we can then identify our particular niche within a particular sector or industry. Take me, for example. One thing that I always loved doing was helping people. And the way that I always seemed to help people was through my writing and my communication skills. So when I was a student in high school, as an early year student, the older students were asking me to help them with their university applications. And later on, when I was in university myself, I was the go-to guy for CV, cover letters, and interview support. Again, these were things that I did for free. It never felt like effort. And I was able to give a lot of value in a way that felt fulfilling. So that was something that I really tapped into myself. And when I got to a point in my corporate career, which followed a very different trajectory initially, I realized that, and when I realized I was feeling unfulfilled, it was only when I went back and tapped into that feeling of helping people that that true feeling of fulfillment came back. And that was one of the steps I took to eventually start a business and start coaching myself.
Wow, that is inspirational. I love it. So find what you're good at, find what you enjoy, find what you've passion for, what comes naturally to you. And when you find that, what do you do with it?
Great question, great question. A lot of the time when people find that sweet spot between an area of interest and skills that they can use, they immediately want to rush and think, I don't like what I'm doing now, I'm going to quit and start a business, or I'm going to quit and move into a new job. I'd say hold your horses at this moment in time because there's definitely still work to do. The best way to find out if this idea that you create is actually going to work is to speak to people who have already taken the path. Because when you're making a career change, it's not necessarily a change in income or what you're doing on a day-to-day basis in terms of work. Your whole life can change. The people you'll be interacting with, the skills that you will be applying, the money that you will be making, the hours that you will be in work and out of work. All of these things have a massive impact on life satisfaction. So reaching out to people who are already doing what you want to do through various means is a very, very important step. Now, there's two particular mediums of interest that work very, very well. Number one is online and number two is offline. Online is very straightforward and easy. You've got social media platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and many, many more, where you can search for people who are doing exactly what you're doing and reach out to them and have a conversation with them. I particularly love LinkedIn because it's the one that I used. And people are very, very open to helping you out and having a conversation, particularly if they see some of their former selves in you. It massively helps in creating some credibility and rapport and getting a conversation going. There is another route as well, because if you're more of an offline person, you're more like the people skills, you can always go to networking groups, festivals, expos, trade shows. There's so many communities of like-minded people out there. They're just waiting to be found. And if you can connect with them, you can definitely find a way to speak to people who are doing exactly what you want to do.
Wow, I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. I did a video recently on connecting with people. In particular, LinkedIn is a great tool, one which I utilize personally. So let's just get this straight. You find what you're good at. Now you find people who are good at what you want to do that they're good at as well. So you've common grounds there. You build your connection, you build your base. What's the next step?
The next step is where things start to get a bit more exciting now, because it's when the individual should start taking some action.
Yeah.
You've taken the time to research the industries, the roles that you want to work in. You've taken the time to network with people and build rapport and relationships. Maybe you've met people face to face or on Zoom or over the phone. That's expending a lot of energy. Now, at this stage, it's not worth letting all of that energy go to waste. So what we can do is actually start dipping your toe in the water and taking some action on the skills or passions that you're interested in. If you love writing, for example, why not start creating articles or blog posts? If you're more of a speaker, why don't you start making YouTube videos or a podcast? If you're more of a practical person, start making things and putting it out there on social media. All of these elements allow you to start getting acclimatized of what it takes and actually start to build some credibility, so that when you start approaching clients or companies with this new idea of a career or a business that you want, you've at least got some credibility behind you. It's also really good to test something part-time before you take it full-time, because the idea of what something is in real life may be very different to what you imagine it to be. And by testing the idea, you can start to see if it truly is for you.
Okay, that's great. That's great. That's wonderful. This brings me back to something we discussed before we started shooting. And you find something you're good at, you find people who are good at it. Now you start to, build that network and you look at where you can take it. But what if you don't want to pursue entrepreneurship? What if you want to progress in your career? How can you apply some of these processes? We'll come back to that later. So if you're watching this, hold on and sit tight. Mohammed's going to answer this soon. But let's just stick with this particular process for someone maybe who's looking to pursue entrepreneurship. What's that next step then? What really seals the deal?
Once you've started to build some credibility, a good intermediate step, if you are looking to go into entrepreneurship, is to start creating some sort of a track record. So for example, I was providing a service through CV writing and through coaching. What I like to do was to ask people to leave me some reviews using platforms like Trustpilot and Google Reviews. What that means is there's something to prove for my credibility. If that meant that eventually I did want to take my business full time, I'd have some reviews to persuade potential clients. If I wanted to take the skills and apply it to a new job, it would mean that I could show something for my work. I could make a new role on my CV, for example, showing this freelance position that I did. Or I can even direct employees to these websites where testimonials were left as evidence of my credibility.
Right, okay. So you're applying an element of social proof then?
Social proof is exceptionally important. If anyone is sitting in front of you, whether it's for entrepreneurship opportunity or whether it's for a job, they are assessing How likely is this person to be able to give me a return on my investment? And social proof helps massively to give them the confidence that they can trust you with their time and their resources to fulfill their own personal objectives.
Okay. So, if we go through this process, can you just run through them real quick? Just a quick recap?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Number one is finding an area that you're passionate about. Number two is about finding skills that align to that passion. Number three is about creating a network and finding mentors who can support you on that journey. Number four is about taking action and start creating a track record. And then number five, which we'll get onto shortly, is about actually applying it and monetizing your passion and taking it in any direction that you want to.
Hallelujah! I'm sure a lot of people want to make money. So this is the next step that a lot of people are going to be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we will come back to how you can apply this without pursuing entrepreneurship. But let's talk money. How can you really build wealth with your passion?
The first step is to prove your concept. Prove that you have something of value. And at the very early stages, it doesn't matter if people pay you or not. The whole idea is to go out there, create some value and get some social proof. Once you've got the proof of the concept, then you can start charging some money for what you do. And people have these misconceptions that you have to aim for a really high price straight away, but it really doesn't have to be. The same way that you prove that you can provide value, prove that people are willing to exchange their money for the value that you provide. And iteratively, as you're going along, as you develop expertise, as you develop a demand, you can start to change your pricing accordingly. And ultimately, the income and how much effort you put into the business can go in any direction that you wish. There is no necessity, if you've got a really good business, to quit your job and do it full time. I know a lot of people within my network who manage a business alongside their job. Some people have a full-time job and a side hustle. Some people have a part-time job and a part-time side hustle as well. And I also know people who can manage both almost full-time hours simultaneously. There really is no pressure. The only thing that matters is that you can provide something and you can provide a value that you can do on your terms, not anyone else's.
Wow. Standing ovation for that. I'm pumped right now. I'm quitting tomorrow. I'm resigning. Let's go. No, on a serious note, that's not going to happen. Not for me at this point in my life, anyway. However, this just feels like I feel like someone's just pulled the wool off of my eyes, and I see things a little bit differently now. I've spoken to a lot of people about entrepreneurship in the past. However, it's not always what it's cut out to be. And I think the fact that you've built in this process a test. Testing is one part that a lot of people fail. A lot of people spend a lot of time planning things, but they don't test the concept. So, yeah, I think a lot of people are really going to get value out of this. But now, let's come right back to it. If you're in a job, maybe at a mid-level within your career, or you're just starting out, how can you apply these principles to step up? Is it about taking on more responsibilities, or is there a bit more to it?
Great question. The good news is that the process is very, very similar to that of entrepreneurship. Okay. The first place to start is to identify what skills you're good at and what you want to do with them. Do you want to build on your existing strengths and use them for high leverage opportunities, maybe a better paid job or a more senior job? Or do you need to develop some more skills that will allow you to make the transition that you want? And then you can build your own personal development plan. And the questions that you can ask yourself are very, very straightforward ones. Number one, what skills do I need to take my career to the next level? And number two, what opportunities are there to capitalize on those skills? If you're in a corporate job, there's a number of different options that you can take. Number one is to ask for some side projects alongside the role that you're working in. This is especially pertinent in bigger companies. As long as you prove that you can maintain your current workload, companies are happy to offer you additional responsibilities.
Okay.
If you find that you can't achieve that within your current job, you can always take on voluntary opportunities in your spare time. Maybe if it's a leadership that you want and you're not particularly getting that in your current role, you can always go to non-profit organizations like Toastmasters or the Rotary Club and start building your expertise there. Or alternatively, if there's a topic or area that you're really interested in, you can do some learning in your own time and start documenting that on social media, again, through either speaking, through writing, or through practical means. What that allows you to do is to build up some credibility and a track record that you can then take on to either your existing manager or a future employer and show that you've got the capability to transition into this new position.
Yeah, that's actually something I've kind of done in the past within my career. I've done a lot of contracting. I've also done some freelance work as well, and just building my profile and building my knowledge and experience, and just expanding on my capabilities as well. I personally have gone for a lot of professional courses though. So is that something that you recommend as well? And if so, what type of development courses would you recommend?
Great question. Because of the wide industries and opportunities that are out there, I would never recommend something specific. But as I said earlier, the best way to do that is actually to speak to people who are already on the path that you've taken. There needs to be a proof that you are going to get a return on investment. It usually takes quite a significant amount of money to do some professional courses, and also the time investment as well. At the very least, you need to have a strong guarantee that if you invest your resources in that, you are going to get some tangible return on investment, either in a role of greater responsibility or, of course, making more money as well.
Okay, more money. All right, that's great. And one of the things that came to mind earlier on when you were speaking, I didn't want to interrupt you at the time, I thought I'd bring it up now, is mentorship. How important is mentorship?
Mentorship is exceptionally important. We've all got a learning trajectory that we have that will take us to where we want to go in life. But having mentors will remove all of the road bumps that come along the way. Yeah. Having someone who has already forged the path that you want, they can anticipate some of the bottlenecks that you're going to have. They're going to be able to advise you on mistakes that they've made that you can prevent from happening, which will mean that you can get to where you want to a lot quicker. It's a very, very productive relationship to have. And if you can find someone who you match with, not only in a professional level, but a personal level as well, it can definitely accelerate your career or your business progress.
Wow. And just, I'll bring myself back on camera. And as a mentor, you're a mentor as well, you're a coach. Where can people reach you?
People can find me usually on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I live.
Yeah.
If you're more than welcome to find me on Mohammed Khashoggi, or alternatively on social media, it's at Mo Khashoggi across all socials. You're more than welcome to get in touch with me and have a conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Mohammed. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. We've had some great conversations in the past, and I'm looking forward to future business with you.